If you're an older man living on your own or someone who cares about one, this video might say things you felt but haven't always heard out loud. There's a lot of talk about aging and loneliness, but not enough real conversation about what it's actually like for older men who live without a partner. People often assume it's sad or that something's missing, but that's not the whole story. In fact, for many men, living alone is a decision they've made for good reasons. Reasons that are deeply personal and sometimes even empowering. In this video, we're going to talk about some of the real honest truths about older men who live alone. We'll talk about independence, health, friendship, finances and more. Not through statistics, but by looking at the lives of real people. The goal here is not to judge or to preach, but to share insight. Because whether you've chosen this path or it found you, you deserve to be seen and understood for who you are. Before we start, I'd love to know, where are you watching from today? Just drop your state or city in the comments below. And if you have any natural health tips of your own, feel free to share those too. Someone else might really benefit from hearing what's worked for you. Point 1, independence is a source of strength and identity. Let's talk about something that doesn't always get the respect it deserves. Independence. For many older men who live alone, independence isn't just about living without someone else. It's about having the freedom to do things on your own terms. And at this stage in life, that kind of freedom can be incredibly meaningful. You've lived through years, maybe even decades, of responsibilities, compromises and making room for others. So, when a man reaches a point where he can arrange his day the way he wants, wake up when he pleases, cook what he likes and enjoy the quiet of his own space, it's not about being alone. It's about finally having room to breathe. It's peace, not punishment. This kind of independence builds confidence. When you handle things on your own, whether it's managing your home, paying your bills or staying on top of your health, it reminds you that you're still capable, still strong. You're not waiting on someone else to guide your decisions. You're living by your own compass. That brings a deep sense of pride that's hard to explain, but easy to feel. Now, this doesn't mean you shut the world out. Many older men who live alone still enjoy friendships, community activities and family time. But the key difference is they choose when and how to engage. There's no pressure to meet someone else's schedule or adjust to someone else's habits. And that's a kind of mental peace that matters more as you grow older. Take someone like Frank, a retired mechanic in his 70s. He once said, "I've been married, I've raised kids, I've worked hard my whole life. Now I enjoy sitting in my own chair, reading when I want, watching the shows I like and making dinner my way." That's not loneliness, that's freedom. So when people talk about older men living alone as if it's a sad story, they're missing a big part of the picture. For many, it's not a loss, it's a gain. Independence gives them space to enjoy life in ways that feel authentic, and that's something to respect, not pity. Point 2, social connections beyond romantic relationships. There's a common belief that if an older man lives alone, he must be lonely. But that's not all ecologist. In fact, many men find that they have more meaningful relationships after stepping away from traditional partnerships. Instead of relying on one person for connection, they build a circle of friends, family and community that brings warmth, laughter and support into their lives without the complications that can come with romance. One of the biggest shifts that happens in later years is realizing that companionship doesn't always have to look like it did in the past. Many men who live alone spend more time with close friends, people they've known for years or connected with through shared interests. Whether it's weekly breakfasts, fishing trips, hobby clubs, or just chatting on the porch, these friendships are often deeper and more relaxed than relationships they had when they were younger. Some also reconnect with family in new ways, siblings, adult children, grandchildren. They might not live under the same roof, but the bonds are still strong. A regular phone call, a shared photo, or a family gathering becomes something to look forward to, not something taken for granted. And let's not forget neighbors and community members. The people who wave hello, check in, and make you feel like you still belong somewhere. There's also freedom in these relationships. Older men who live alone often say they enjoy the balance of connection and solitude. They're not tied to anyone's moods or expectations. They choose when to be social and when to enjoy quiet time. That choice, that control, is what makes their social lives feel more peaceful and more fulfilling. Think about someone like Harold, a widowed man in his early 80s. He told me, "I miss my wife every day, but I found comfort in my friends. We don't talk about deep stuff all the time. Sometimes it's just playing cards or talking about baseball, but that keeps me going." Harold's story isn't unusual. It's one of many. The truth is, romantic relationships aren't the only source of love or connection. For many older men, living alone means opening up space for other kinds of relationships to grow, and those can be just as meaningful. Point 3, health outcomes depend on lifestyle choices. A lot of people assume that living alone means your health will suffer. Like you'll forget to take your medicine, skip meals, or stop caring about yourself. But that's not always how it goes. The truth is, many older men who live alone actually take their health more seriously because they know they're the only ones responsible for it. And for a lot of them, that responsibility becomes a source of motivation. When you live alone, there's no one around to remind you to eat healthy or go to the doctor. So, you either take charge or you don't. And many men do. They create their own routines, cook their own meals, schedule their checkups, and make time for movement. Whether it's morning walks, yoga, swimming at the community center, or just getting outside for some fresh air, they stay active in ways that fit their lifestyle. Mental health matters too. And while yes, loneliness can affect anyone, many men find that living alone brings a certain peace. There are no arguments, no compromises, no tiptoeing around someone else's habits. That calm can actually reduce stress, and that's good for the heart, the mind, and everything in between. Some pick up quiet hobbies like woodworking, painting, or gardening. Others find peace in journaling, prayer, or simply sitting on the porch with a cup of coffee. Take George, for example. He's 79 and used to be a firefighter. He lives alone now, but he's far from disconnected. He walks a few miles each morning, checks in with friends at his local senior center, and makes his own meals with care. "I know my body," he says, "and I know what it needs. I take care of it because no one else is going to." That kind of attitude, that quiet sense of ownership, is something many solo living men carry with them. That said, it's not always easy. Emergencies can happen, chronic conditions can sneak up. But that's where technology, community support, and preparation come in. The key isn't just having someone at home, it's having a plan, having people to call, and staying proactive. So, no, living alone doesn't mean living unhealthy. For many men, it's the very reason they start taking better care of themselves, because their health is their own and they're not willing to let it go. Point 4, financial independence offers freedom and security. Let's talk about money. Not just in terms of dollars and cents, but what it really means to have control over your finances when you're living alone. For many older men, managing their own money isn't just a necessity, it's a source of pride. It gives them the freedom to make choices that fit their lifestyle, their comfort, and their goals without having to check in with anyone else. When you're the only one making financial decisions, there's a clarity that comes with it. You know exactly what you have, what you need, and what matters to you. Whether it's deciding to buy a new chair for your reading corner, fixing something around the house, or treating yourself to a weekend getaway, it's your call. And that kind of control isn't something everyone gets to enjoy, especially in later years. Some men use this freedom to invest in their passions. Maybe it's a fishing boat, maybe it's books, maybe it's tools for a workshop in the garage. Others put their money toward health, paying for a gym membership, a new mattress, or healthy groceries. And for many it's about peace of mind, keeping up with bills, saving for the future, or setting aside funds for emergencies so that they never have to rely on anyone else. Paul is a good example. He's 72, retired from a long career in accounting, and he lives alone by choice. He once said, "I know where every penny goes and I don't have to explain any of it." That's freedom. That's control. For Paul, financial independence isn't just about having money, it's about having dignity. It's about not feeling like a burden and knowing he's secure in the life he's built. Of course, being financially independent also means being smart. There's no one else to split expenses with. So it's important to plan to have insurance, savings, and a will in place. And if things feel confusing, it's okay to get help from a trusted advisor or family member. At the end of the day, money isn't everything, but having control over it, that gives older men the power to live life their way. And that sense of freedom, that quiet confidence is something they've earned. Point 5. Emotional resilience and self-awareness grow stronger with age. There's something powerful that often goes unnoticed in older men who live alone. Emotional strength. It's not loud. It doesn't always show on the outside, but it's there. It's in the way they face the day, the way they handle silence, and the way they've come to know themselves more clearly than ever before. Living alone in your later years takes courage. It's not always about preference, and sometimes life just leads you there. A partner passes, relationships change, or people move on. But instead of giving into loneliness, many older men develop something deeper. A kind of emotional resilience that comes from experience, reflection, and hard wisdom. When there's no one else around, you start to hear your own thoughts more clearly. You begin to understand what matters to you, what gives you peace, and what you've outgrown. This kind of self-awareness can be a gift. It allows you to let go of old pressures, to stop performing for others, and just live honestly. That honesty with yourself creates a calmness that's hard to find in busier, more complicated stages of life. It doesn't mean there aren't tough moments. Everyone feels lonely sometimes. Everyone misses someone. But older men who've learned to live alone often find ways to sit with those feelings, not run from them. They turn to journaling, prayer, walks in nature, quiet hobbies, or just sitting still and taking it all in. And over time, they grow stronger, not weaker. Take Samuel, for example. He's 77 and has been living alone for more than a decade. He told me, "This time alone helped me reconnect with who I am, not who I used to be for other people." He spends his mornings in quiet reflection, his afternoons gardening, and his evenings reading. He's not sad, he's centered. And that emotional grounding didn't come from noise, it came from quiet. There's a kind of wisdom that grows in solitude, not the kind you read in books, but the kind that comes from living through things and coming out stronger. That's what many older men carry within them. Not just memories, but understanding. Not just strength, but peace. Point 6, freedom to live without pressure or compromise. One of the most overlooked benefits of living alone later in life is the freedom to just be without the constant pressure to adjust, explain, or keep up with anyone else's needs. Many older men who live solo say that for the first time in decades, they don't feel like they're walking on eggshells or trying to meet someone else's expectations. And that kind of freedom is priceless. Think about it. After years of working, raising a family, caring for others, or being in long-term relationships, your days were probably filled with compromises. When to eat, what to watch, how to spend weekends, what mood someone else might be in. And now you get to decide, you get to move at your own pace without rushing or explaining why. This freedom isn't about being selfish, it's about finally having room to breathe, to wear what you want, to keep the house the way you like it, to spend your money, your time, and your energy where it feels right, not where you're told it should go. That freedom brings a sense of ease that's hard to describe, but easy to feel when you've lived through enough life to know the difference. And with less pressure, many men find that their days feel lighter. There's more laughter, more quiet joy. They rediscover things they once loved, old records, puzzles, old movies, maybe even cooking. They start to enjoy their own company again instead of chasing something or someone to fill a space. For example, there's David, 75, who says his favorite thing now is waking up with no alarm clock and making pancakes while listening to jazz. I'm not performing for anyone anymore. He told me, this is my life. No masks, no stress. That's what this sixth truth is really about. Not being pulled in 100 directions, not having to explain who you are. Just living honestly with space to breathe and permission to enjoy your life without guilt or noise. So, if you're living alone and wondering if that peace you feel is okay, yes, it is. You've earned this freedom. You've lived enough life to finally live it your way. As we reach the end of this conversation, I want to leave you with something that often gets overlooked. Living alone doesn't mean you've lost something. For many older men, it means they've gained something. Clarity, freedom, and a deeper connection with themselves. Every point we've talked about, independence, friendships, health, finances, emotional strength, tells a bigger story. A story of men who are not just surviving on their own, but living in a way that feels right to them. Now I'd love to hear from you. What part of this video spoke to you the most? Was it something about independence, friendship, or emotional growth? Leave a comment below and let others know. Your story might give someone else the comfort or clarity they've been looking for. And if this video meant something to you, please consider liking, sharing, or subscribing. It helps us continue creating content that truly speaks to people like you with honesty, respect, and heart. Thank you for spending your time here, and until next time, take care of yourself because you're worth it.